What are 12 things I no longer do as a homeschooler? Let's get started. Hey y'all, welcome back. If you're an old friend, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Christy. I offer homeschool help, tips, tricks, and resources. If you are new, please take a look down below and hit that subscribe button. I have a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers, so please help me along with that goal. And while you're there, hit that like button as well. Number 1, set my alarm. Yay! Now, this doesn't mean that we sleep in till noon and live in our pajamas, but I have always been a mama who lets the babies sleep. Now that I have teenagers, not a whole lot has changed. I found some information from the Sleep Foundation and WebMD about what age needs what amount of sleep as our children grow. Infant to 12 months, 12 to 16 hours, that's including naps. 1 to 3 years old is 12 to 14 hours, including naps. 3 to 6 years old is 10 to 13 hours, includes naps. Elementary school age 6 to 11 is 10 to 12 hours. Middle school, that's ages 11 to 14, needs 10 to 11 hours. And high school, 14 to 18 years, is 8 to 9 hours. Mamas, I would say the same, 8 to 9 hours for us as well, at least. So when my babies were little and I put them down for a nap, sometimes they would wake up a little bit early and sometimes they would sleep so long that I would go and check their breathing, right? Usually they would sleep as long as their little bodies needed it. So if we don't disrupt this, we should be able to regulate our bodies and our sleep the same way. There is a very good reason we do not set our alarm unless it's for church or maybe a doctor's appointment or something like that. We do wake up in a reasonable time because we want to get done with our day within a reasonable time. So we kind of back that up. Instead of setting that alarm, we just go to bed a little bit earlier. So around 8 or 9 o'clock, we're kind of winding down here. Now, I understand that sometimes, many nights, there are ball games and events that we go to as a family, and that happens, and we just adjust as we can. Number 2, I don't cook every meal. Now, don't come for me, but my husband likes to cook, and he cooks most every dinner. Please know that it is not lost on me that that is a huge blessing, and I do appreciate it every day. That doesn't mean that my children can't help by defrosting something or getting something started while he's on his way home from work, and he can get in the kitchen and do what he likes to do. The kids help. They are kind of on their own most weekdays for breakfast and lunch. We do easy things, cereal, bagels, toast. We also do, I forgot the name of the brand, but it's the pancake batter that you just add water. We buy big bags of that, and all 3 of my children know how to mix that up real quick and make a batch of pancakes. Lunch might look like mac and cheese or some chicken nuggets. We use our air fryer a lot, almost every day, reheating leftovers or cooking up something real quick. We love it. They may make sandwiches, and the way that that works is, I say they're on their own, but whoever is hungry first and goes into the kitchen might go in and say, hey everybody, I'm making sandwiches, does anybody want one? Number 3, I don't clean the entire house. At an early age, we gave the children chores. At first, it was just picking up after yourselves, cleaning your room, making your bed. Then it became maybe unloading the dishwasher or folding the towels. Now they're all old enough to have their own chores, and those rotate each month. One child might be in charge of dishes for this month. One is in charge of laundry. Usually my son takes care of the outdoor chores because he can take care of all of the yard work, and my girls and I take care of the indoor chores. We prefer it this way. We like the inside. We like the air conditioning. It's been over 100 degrees every day this week. We are just absolutely melting. But if my daughters are interested in something that my husband might be working on outside, like if he's pressure washing and that looks interesting, then they will go participate in that. And sometimes I hand my son the vacuum because I need his help. I do the bulk of the dusting and scrubbing the bathrooms, vacuuming, mopping. I still do a lot lot of the household chores, but they don't take nearly as long now that we have moved and downsized into our smaller home. Yay. Number 4, I don't do crafts. Now, if you know me, this might be surprising to you because I'm kind of the art lady. When my kids were little, we did hands-on activities, but they weren't particularly structured. I'd throw some Play-Doh out on the table, or maybe I would offer them some finger painting, or there was a cabinet full of crafts with popsicle sticks and glue and glitter and paint and cotton balls that they just got to be creative. They made a lot of memories and they made a mess, but I didn't do a lot of structured step 1, step 2, step 3, and mom had to hold their hand along the way. They created some really great things that they were super proud of, more so than if they would have followed a kit. I noticed a lot of our curriculum would have a unit study and then a craft, and I would just cringe when I would see that because I didn't want to. I didn't want to go find the such and such color of the pipe cleaners and whatever it was that was needed and then go through the craft, and it wasn't always the best result, and I would dread the time that came because I felt like a failure if we skipped it. I felt like, we have to do it to get the hands-on experience, and that wasn't true. If the kids were really interested in something, like one of the history lessons, they got to make a dress for their American Girl doll. We stopped and took some time on that. That was really cool and that was fun, but they had had a lot of sewing experience with their 4-H classes, so they could do that pretty much by themselves. They know how to sew better than I do. I let go of that guilt and we didn't do all of those crafts. Number 5, I don't do experiments. I am also not the science experiment mama. Thank goodness for co-op, because in the beginning when they were little and the science experiments were mixing the vinegar and the baking soda, making the volcano, things like that, things that we tried to do just never quite seemed to work out for me, and I don't know why. One of my good friends, she was amazing at this. Everything that she touched turned to gold, and it was so much fun to watch. But I promise I could do the same experiment and it would not turn out the same way. We do our science bookwork at home, and we leave those experiments to the lab days or co-op days that we see everybody once a week, and they do those experiments together with their class, which is always more fun with the group anyway. So that's fantastic. Number 5, I don't keep grades. What difference does it make if my daughter makes a B- or a C on her latest English grade? It doesn't matter. I have always had the mindset that anything with an 80% or lower is a do-over, because that means you didn't learn it. You didn't master whatever skill was being taught. And if you got above an 80% the next time, we moved on. If not, we would stop and look and see why. Is it because we need to take a break, come back and look at it again? Is it because we truly don't understand the material? Is it because it's not being taught the way that you learn best? Do we need to look at the curriculum? So we would look at those different things and decide why they have failed. And if they failed maybe 2 or 3 times, we would definitely consider looking at the curriculum, looking at those things, taking a break, coming back to it, starting at square one, whatever we needed to. But does it mean that they're a failure? Absolutely not. It just means they didn't learn the material. But it wouldn't matter if they made A, B, C, just whether they learned the information or not. High school, it's a little bit different. You do have to issue grades, and so those are issued either through an online course that you're taking that would be issued to you, or if you're doing it at home, then you would give an assessment. Number 6, I don't continue using curriculum that isn't working for us. I am famously known as the mama who will throw curriculum out on a Tuesday. I wasn't always that way. When they were little, I wanted to get my money's worth or my investment out of it, however small or large that may be. I had bought this, I had committed to this, and we're going to sit down and we're going to use it. And I would say to myself, at least for the semester, I'm going to at least give it, and that's not a bad plan, to give it a good shot. And especially because then at that time, I was not experienced in all of the different curriculums, learning styles. My children were just starting out in their education. They didn't know what their learning styles were. We had to kind of figure that out. So using that at the beginning, kind of a longer term, and giving a timeline where we're going to try it at least for this long was actually probably a pretty good idea. Then I was able to spot, oh, this isn't working because it's not teaching the way that my child learns, or this isn't working because I've noticed this that I've seen before. I do have to watch for gaps. When I make a change in curriculum nowadays, it's very clear, it's very calculated. I know exactly the reason why we're changing and what we're moving to and why that change should work out for us. But I am not afraid to set it aside and try something different. Number 7, I don't assign my child to one grade. The joke in the homeschool community is if you ask a homeschooled child what grade they're in, they may reply to you what subject. That's the case with everyone, right? Everyone has their different strengths and subjects that they enjoy, that they excel in. So you may be almost a whole year ahead in math and be running in that subject, but still have some work to do in language arts, or still maybe be struggling in spelling, or vice versa. And so you kind of stay back here and really work on those foundations while you move ahead in other subjects. That's one of the greatest benefits of homeschooling, in my opinion, is being able to meet the students where they are. Number 8, I don't buy brands. This is not entirely true. Since last year, when I went to the classroom and I brought my children with me, 2 of them are staying there at that private school, and that culture values brands a little bit differently than our homeschool culture in this area. In the past, I had just placed value on quality and the brands didn't really matter. Now I have to kind of ride that balance, but as far as homeschooling, I don't let those brand names dictate my purchases. Number 9, I don't use school desk. When I began our homeschool journey, my aunt very thoughtfully brought over 2 of those antique little wooden school desks, you know, the ones that we probably sat in, that was all one piece that had the little desk attached. Precious. And we may have used them for a day or 2 or for a week or just maybe for pictures, but they didn't last. They weren't comfortable, they weren't practical, they were sitting in our dining room. They didn't last long, unfortunately. And so we find ourselves homeschooling in a lot of different places. Outside, on the couch, at the kitchen table, at the counter, in our homeschool room, in our old house. A lot of different places. Very rarely did we just sit for hours and trudge through schoolwork. Even at offices now, lots of businesses are utilizing standing desks, walking desks, and things like that because the research has shown that it is bad for people to sit for long periods of time. People, adults, people, children, especially children. Back when my son was young and I was reading aloud to him, he was falling off the side of the sofa, upside down, doing gymnastics in the middle of the living room. It was driving me bananas. And so I would make him sit down and be still and listen. And he couldn't. And he listened better when he was moving. So I went to my closet, grabbed my exercise ball, plopped him down on it, and I said, okay, bounce, but listen while I read. And he was retaining all of that. The movement was helping him retain that information. Each person may need a different level of movement. My daughter needed less. She needed to kind of be still, quiet, and reflect. And if she moved around too much or got distracted, she probably would not retain that information. Every child has a different level of activity that's necessary for learning. Number 10, I don't stay home all of the time. When we are home, our noses may or may not be in the books. We might be watching a YouTube tutorial on how to draw something or a science experiment, or we might be gone and visiting someone elderly in our church that needs a plate lunch and some visitation. We might be running errands. A 10 o'clock appointment is much easier to get than one at 3:30, and grocery shopping is just much more pleasant before 5 p.m. Definitely take advantage of that flexibility, and we might ditch the schoolwork altogether just because we need to take a trip, get outside, and maybe go see a museum. Number 11, I don't overload our system. And this is still a struggle for me, especially during this time of the year, back to school. I see all of the new shiny curriculum and the extra things that we could add to our day. And we have our math and our English and science and history. And oh, look, we could add calligraphy. And oh, look, we could add this wonderful Bible lesson. And oh, we can read the Bible in a year. And what if we
did this? And what if we added that? And we have to have this.
And suddenly our day is full and it's too much to do every day. And after a week or two, something is going to fall by the wayside. So I guard our schedule very closely, very carefully when I am scheduling our days and when I am scheduling our curriculum, because I want to leave space for free time, downtime, sick time. I leave time for them to get bored. Sometimes boredom is good for children. My dad used to have a habit of just dropping by the house with the biggest piece of bubble gum that you've ever seen, or the most giant candy cane ever made, or I don't know, something. It was such a pawpaw thing to do. And he would come in, the kids would love to see him, they would go to lunch with him, and the whole day would be ruined. At first, that's what I thought. And then I realized this pawpaw time is important. We'll never get this back. And we can learn our multiplication facts tomorrow. I leave space in our day for those welcome interruptions. Those are the 12 things that I no longer do as a homeschooler. What are some things that you can put on your list that you no longer do as a homeschooler? What are some things that you wish you could remove, that you could say that I no longer do this as a homeschooler because it is no longer beneficial to my family? Leave those in the comments. I'd love to hear them. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.